Hello my dear students and welcome back to Excellence Batch, and I am your Diksha ma'am. So here we are going to talk about some more diseases. In the previous lecture we have covered the bacterial and some viral disease. So it's time to continue with the viral diseases again. So let's get started. So the first viral disease is rabies. Alright. So the first viral disease is rabies. Rabies is caused by a virus and the name of the virus is rhabdovirus. What is the name of the virus? Rhabdovirus. So how does this virus enters into our body? So you must have heard of mad dog or rabid dog. So usually when in our country especially when we were very little, most of the stray dogs, they were not immunized. So they were not vaccinated. So that's how they got a virus, that is the rhabdovirus, and they got rabies. And somehow those dogs who are rabid dogs, if they bite to the human beings, they can also get the rabies. So what happened in the rabies and how it enters human, because we are talking about human diseases, right? So it enters into the human body, enters in human body by the bite of rabid dog, cat, jackal and even wolf, right? These animals, if they are rabid and they bite you, then the virus can enter into your body. Now what are the symptoms of this disease? What are the symptoms? First of all, the animal, or even if it is the human being, they will have hydrophobia. Hydrophobia means fear of water. They will start fearing water, they will not drink water, right? Second symptom is excessive salivation. If you will see any dog who is having a lot of salivation or saliva moving out from the mouth, there are chances that that dog is, suffering from the rabies. So whenever a dog bites you, straight away you go to doctor and doctor give you an injection. That is the antibodies against this virus, right? And if you want to check whether the dog is having rabies or not, because dog will not tell you whether the dog is immunized or not. So dogs are usually kept for for the watch for some hours, and then you see the symptom and then you state that whether the dog is rabid or not, right? And this disease is 100% fatal. If it happens to any human being, the human being will die, right? Imagine a dog bites you and you said, okay, nothing will happen to me, and after some day you got rabies, right? And then after that, rabies is not curable. You go to doctor, immediately you get an injection, might be you will get well, but if you got the rabies and then it can be 100% fatal, or that means a person can die, right? So for that we have vaccination. Vaccine is available, and usually this vaccine is given to the dogs or the animals. Fine. Alright, that's about the rabies. Let's talk about the another disorder or disease, that is hepatitis. So one hepatitis we have already done in the chapter reproductive health. So yeah, now you know what is hepatitis, right? Hepatitis is inflammation in liver. Inflammation in liver, right? So what happened? This is also viral disease, so the virus will infect, right? But the hepatitis is of different kind. In all the hepatitis, the symptoms, the damaged organ will be the liver. Inflammation of liver and degeneration of liver will occur in all the types of hepatitis, but there are different types of hepatitis, right? So like we have hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis D, hepatitis E and hepatitis G. Right. Now why they are different? Why they are different types? Because the virus is different. The virus that is causing the disease is different. So hepatitis A is caused by hepatitis A virus. Hepatitis B is caused by hepatitis B virus. The C is caused by hepatitis C virus. D by D, just simple, E by E and G by G, right? So, hepatitis A virus that causes the hepatitis, okay. So, I am writing the full form here, hepatitis G virus, okay, so that you can understand with the others. Now, what is the another thing that is different? The mode of spread. For example, if I talk about hepatitis A and hepatitis E, these two hepatitis are caused by their two different viruses and their mode of spread is also different. They can enter into your body via contaminated food and water. So, their transmission we say is fecal-oral. Fecal-oral transmission. Fecal-oral transmission means through contaminated food and water. Through contaminated food and water. So, that is why it is very important to eat clean food, because you never know what virus, what bacteria is present inside the food. Fine. Now, B, C, D and G, they spread through blood transfusion. They spread through blood transfusion. Out of all of this, only hepatitis B can spread through sexual contact. I hope you understand what is blood transfusion. That means through passage of blood. For example, if one person is having hepatitis C, if that person give blood to the another healthy person, the virus will go to the healthy person also, or through infected needles, or from mother to the fetus, like that. Whereas in the sexually transmitted one, this can spread through the unprotected sexual intercourse with the person. That's why in STDs, we have not done all the types of hepatitis. We have only done the B type, right? So, that's the hepatitis. So, for the hepatitis, yes, vaccines are also available, okay, alright. Now, talking about smallpox and chickenpox. One pox many of you may have suffered from, that is chickenpox. Even I had chickenpox in my childhood, right? So, this is the disease that is prevalent nowadays, but this is a disease which has been eradicated. Eradicated means now nobody get this disease. How did this happen? Why nobody is having? Because everyone is immunized. Everyone is immunized from the smallpox. That's why nobody can get the smallpox disease now. Whereas yes, chickenpox is the disease that occurs to a lot of people. Many people go for its vaccination, but when you must have heard some people go for vaccination, but in some people, if they get chickenpox, they naturally get immunized for the next time, right? Now, what's the difference between these two? Both are pox. Right, what's the difference? First of all, both are pox, because in both the cases you will get small blister like vesicles, right? So, you will get small papules, like in Hindi we say dane, right? So, in both the case you will get those papules, fine. The difference is the smallpox papules, they have water or fluid, they have dry papules, the water is not present, right? Another difference is that the virus, definitely the virus that causes smallpox is variola virus, and the virus that causes chickenpox is varicella zoster virus. Now, if you remember, if you had chickenpox in your life, where did you get rashes? In the beginning of chickenpox, you get rashes on your body. So, in the chickenpox, the rashes first appear on the trunk region. That means this abdomen and thorax region. So, rashes appears on trunk first, on trunk region first. Whereas in case of smallpox, the rashes first appear on face, right, or other body parts. So, rashes on face first. Another thing here, whatever papules will be formed, papules have fluid. Because papules have fluid, when they will break, they will leave poke marks. They will leave poke marks. So, that is why it was also not the, it was treated as a very bad disease. Why? Because people get a lot of marks on their face and the entire body, and they start thinking that they are not beautiful now, right? So, that is why this disease was very problematic. But here the papules are without fluid, they are dry. after some time they will dry off and there will be no poke marks. There will be no poke marks. That's the difference, right? We do have vaccination for both, but smallpox, all the people in the world, they have been vaccinated, so it has been eradicated. In fact, the first vaccine to be formed was against smallpox. I'll tell you the story how this vaccine was formed in the vaccination chapter. So for that, just keep the suspense on, right? So that's about the chickenpox and smallpox. Let's talk about some more disorders like dengue. Dengue or dengue, you must have heard of it, right? So whenever there is a rainy season, the government starts giving advisory not to keep water accumulated in your areas, because that is an invitation to lot of mosquito. So wherever you have mosquito, you definitely have two diseases there. First malaria, second dengue. Now we are going to talk about dengue. Dengue is caused by arbovirus. Which virus? Arbovirus. Arbo means arthropod borne. That means this disease is dependent upon some arthropod. What is arthropod? Arthropoda class, right? Because here the man is the host and to one the disease is basically caused, whereas there is one vector. The vector is the female Aedes mosquito. So what happens when you accumulate water? The mosquito will lay eggs on it. These eggs turn into larva. Larva becomes mosquitoes. So the number of mosquito or their population will increase. Now their mothers or the females mosquitoes, they have to lay more eggs to increase their population. So while these females, they're about to lay eggs, they need certain proteins and iron from your body. So they come to you to drink your blood. Normally male mosquito never bites you. Even male mosquito does not have a mouth part to bite you. Only females are the one that drink your blood, and that too for laying the eggs, right? So that's why always you will see, in case of any spread of disease, always females are drinking the blood. Okay, now what happens in the dengue? In dengue, the symptoms are, maybe many of you must have told me or you have already said it, right? So the symptoms are, definitely there will be high fever, there will be low platelet count. Low platelet count. Platelets are the thrombocytes or the formed elements of your blood. This is one thing doctor will always ask when there is a spread of dengue. They will ask you to go for blood test, right? If you have low platelet count, that means you might have dengue. Then they will ask you for another test to confirm whether it's a dengue or not, right? Another symptom is that muscle ache. Your entire body will show a lot of pain. There will be pain in joints and around eyeball. Around eyeball. Normally in fever we do not have pain around eyeballs, but in this case we have pains in the joint and the eyeball. In the case when you have very low platelet count and the dengue is at peak, at that time in some people the hemorrhage can occur. Hemorrhage means there is bursting of blood vessels, and that occur in extreme cases. So that's why dengue is not that good, okay. So that's the another viral disease which is caused by a virus, okay. Alright. Next we are going to talk about are fungal diseases. So first we have discussed bacterial diseases, then we have discussed the viral. Now it's time to go with another causative agent, fungal. See, whatever microorganism you study in the botany, in the zoology, they will give you diseases, fine. Bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoan, all are giving you diseases. Apart from that, in animal kingdom, we study worms, Platyhelminthes, right, Ascalmenths. So helminthes are also giving you diseases. So one human being, many organism causing you diseases, okay. Anyways, let's start with the fungus. So the study of fungus is known as mycology, right. So the fungal disease is also known as mycosis or dermatophysis. phytosis or tinea right? So there are not every group of fungus that cause you disease. There is just one group of fungus that cause you disease. Like there is a fungus mushroom that you eat, but it's not causing you disease. But there are also fungus mushroom that are very poisonous also, right? So fungus is a it's a big group, and in that we have different types of organisms, right? So here in fungus we have a group. There is a group of fungi. You call them as dermatophytes. In the dermatophytes, we have genera. We have how many genera? 3 genera. The first genera is Trichophyton. Second is Microsporum. And third is Epidermophyton, right? I am telling you the classification, Epidermophyton. Like in fungus, we have a group known as dermatophytes. This is basically the group of fungi that are, associated with human skin. Fine. Now in that we have further 3 genera, and the name of the genera is this: Trichophyton, Microsporum and Epidermophyton, right? Now the fungus that belongs to Trichophyton, that infects your skin, nails and hair, whereas a Microsporum, it infects your skin and hair, not the nails. Whereas the Epidermophyton, it infects both nail and skin, right? Now the question is, the fungus is infecting you, it is destroying your hair, it is destroying your skin, it is destroying your nail. But how is it entering inside your body? If you remember, what is the favorite thing for a fungus? The fungus, if it wants to grow, it needs damp, unhygienic and warm condition. So these are the 3 conditions the fungus needs to grow. Imagine you don't take bath for many days. You are a sports player, you play in the mud, sand, whatever, in dirt and all, and you don't take bath for many days. So you are very unhygienic, you have dirt, you have spores of fungus on you. Now, the climate is also very warm because you are playing, your body temperature is higher and you are also sweating, so that means you are warm. So 3 conditions are there on your body. So that invites the fungus to grow. So fungus will always grow if 3 conditions are there. Now, how it can spread from one person to another? By using the objects of infected person, like by using their towels, right? By using their clothes. So never use belongings of an infected person. In fact, their entire bed and bed sheets, everything should be separated. So how does it spread? Mode of spread or transmission: by using infected articles or objects like towel, cloth, etc. of infected person. Now, if a person is infected, what that person can do? Definitely go to the doctor, otherwise it will spread into the entire body. So this tinea, according to what organ it is infected, is of different type, right? So this is how doctor will diagnose you. Now you got the disease, you go to doctor. So there are different types of tinea. Now one tinea is TAENIA, that is tinea solium, that is a tapeworm, but this tinea is different, it is TINEA. Fine. So first is tinea capitis, second is tinea cruis, third is tinea pedis, and the last is tinea barbarae. So these are the most common tinea or fungal disease that occurs to human. First is tinea capitis. Caput word is always used for head. So this one infects which organ? it infects head. So what happened? If it infects head, what is present on the head? Hair. So wherever you will get the fungal infection, it will appear in the form of round ring. That's why the fungal disease, apart from mycosis, dermatophytosis or tinea, it is also known as ringworm, not roundworm, ringworm. Right? You must have seen in the advertisement, ring cutter and soak creams are there. They are for this disease only, right? So you will always see this disease will always be there in the presence of rings. If you can see here, a ring is formed here. Okay, so this is a man's chin. He is having tinea barbae on the beard. Okay, so it is also known as ring because it spreads in the form of circles, rings. So when a person is having tinea capitis, the person is infected on head. So wherever the person is getting infection or got the infection, so here at this point the person's hair will fall off, right? So you can easily see the round patches on the head, and that will not have any hair. So hair will fall off, hair falls off at the area of infection. Okay, now if a person is having CUET, that CUET will always infect the genitals, groin region. Which region? Groin region. That means the region in between legs, in between legs. So what happened in this one? It will start from the in between leg region and spread towards the thighs. Now why it is infecting the leg? You know, that's the area where you wear undergarments, and undergarments, if they are wet or you are in the very sweaty condition, there are more chances of spread of the disease. That's the area that remains wet for longer duration. Okay, so that's why the tinea cruis is more on that areas. Fine. So here also groin region you will see red patches, and it can spread through the thigh also, towards thigh. Pedis. What is pedis? Pedis word comes from pedicure. Pedis means foot. So this one is also known as athlete's foot, because it is most common in the athletes. So here the toes and nails are infected. Toes and nails are infected. Why it is known as athlete's foot? Because sports people, they wear a pair of shoes and pair of socks for the entire day, playing in the dirt, having sweat and warm condition. So they are more prone to get infection in their toes and nails, right? Barbae, it occurs on beard, and this is the most common in men because men have beard. Fine. So you can see if the man is having this fungal disease, there will be white patches on their beard, as you have seen in the diagram also, right? Another thing is that how does it spreads more? Because people go to barber shop, and if they don't use new blades, or you know, if the blade is not disinfected properly, so they are more prone to have these diseases. Fine. So these are the various types of the fungal disease based upon what organ they are infecting. Alright, so that's all about fungal disease. Let's move further and talk about the helminthic diseases now. So the first helminthic disease we have is teniasis. So now that is another teniasis that occurs from, what is a causative agent? Tinea solium, which is the pork tapeworm. That's the causative agent. And second we have is Tinea saginata. Tinea saginata, that's the beef tapeworm. So there are two tapeworm that can cause us a disease known as teniasis, Now, what is the causative agent? The causative agent is a tapeworm. So there are two hosts. One is a primary host. You know, these are organism. Tapeworm is organism. Why tapeworm is coming into our body? Why it is infecting us? To run its life cycle, to increase its progeny, to have food, because it's a parasite, right? So to complete its life cycle, it cannot complete its life cycle in just one host, that is like primary host man. It needs second host to complete its life cycle. So the second host is on basis on the what type of tapeworm it is. For example, the primary host will be man in both the cases. The secondary host The secondary host in case of Taenia solium is the pork tapeworm. That means it will be pig, and in case of beef it will be cow or buffalo. Fine. So it needs two hosts to complete its life cycle. If there is, for example, in the entire world there is no pig or cow, probably it will not be able to complete its life cycle in man only. Fine. So how do you get infected? The infection is through eating measly pork. Measly pork means, I am talking about here the Taenia solium. The Taenia solium's larva is present in the flesh of a pig, and that pig is known as measly pork. The measly pork is a flesh of a pig that is infected, that is stale, that is not good, that contains larva. So when you eat measly pork, the larva enters small intestine, right? For example, small intestine of what? Of man. So man had food, and the man had pork, right? And the pork was not good. The pork was the flesh of the pig, and pig was somehow infected with the Taenia's larva. So now that larva, imagine this is a larva, the larva enter into small intestine. Larva will get developed and it will become adult. So this is the adult living in the small intestine of human. That's why you call it as Taeniasis, because Taenia solium, the adult stage, is present inside the small intestine of the man, right? So this is Taenia solium. This is Taenia solium. Now in the small intestine, what it will do? It will eat food, drink blood, and keep you malnourished. Right? Because it has suckers. It has suckers here, and suckers helps in engulfing the food. That's why it's a parasite. It needs food. Now it is having food. It is living its life very well. What it will do? Reproduce. There is a thing, when any human being have all the facilities, all the proper requirements to live life, the person will definitely reproduce, right? So now the organism will reproduce and produces eggs. So these are eggs. Now these eggs will become larvae, and these larvae will move out through feces. And where does feces go? Feces goes in water, and this water will be consumed by pig. Now you know, where does pig are present? Near the sewage pipe, right? In small towns, if you have seen, I have seen a lot, the pipes were open. Nowadays the sewage system has improved in India since many years. So earlier when we were little, the pipes were open. Even in some areas of India also the pipes are still open, the sewage pipes. So you will see pigs moving around there because they drink that water. So imagine the feces are there in that water and pigs are drinking that water. So if the person is infected with larva, the water will be containing larva and the pig will consume the water. Imagine that pig is slaughtered to become food of any man, and that will be eaten by man, and man will get the disease. So this is how the cycle goes on, and the person or a man got the disease known as Taeniasis. So one thing, where is this tapeworm is present? It is present in the small intestine of man and cause the disease Taeniasis. Fine. Let's talk about next helminthic disease, that is Ascaris. Right? Ascariasis is the disease and the causative agent is Ascaris. Ascaris, you must have heard of it, right? It's a roundworm. Ascaris. Ascaris is a roundworm. It's not round in shape. Rather, if we'll cut this worm, it will appear circular in the cross section. This is how it looks like this. Very thin, slender body. But when you'll cut it like this, you will see the round cylindrical body. It has a cylindrical body. If you cut the cylinder like this and see it like that in the cross section, it will appear circular. Fine. So where does this live and how it enters inside the body? So it lives in small intestine of man. Small intestine of man. So if it is living in small intestine, that means it's a parasite and eat food, drink blood. Anything that is drinking blood will cause anemia to man. If somehow if someone is drinking blood, you will get short of blood, and what is the disease short of blood known as? Anemia. So that causes anemia to man, making it malnourished. Alright, and this you know, there is a thing about parasites. They multiply so much. They give, you know, millions of eggs in one go, so that they can increase their progeny, and sometimes people need to get operated to get these ascaris out from the body. How does it enter inside the body? The eggs will enter inside your body when you will drink contaminated food and water. Earlier in the Taenia, the larva enters into your body when you eat measly pork or measly beef, in case of Saginata, right? But if you drink contaminated food and water which are contaminated with the eggs of ascaris, then you will get the scariasis, right? So what does it enter? The egg enters through contaminated food and water. Contaminated food and water. So people who have a lot of, you know, this scariasis, they have a number of lakhs of ascaris in their small intestine, and that need to be operated. So their abdomen is basically bloated, and you know, it's like a round abdomen. The entire person will be very thin, but the abdomen will be very big. So that means there is a probability the person is having worms. You know, deworming is very important. If you are eating a lot from outside, especially those students living in PGs or hostels and all, they should definitely do deworming in 6 months. That involves taking a tablet on the prescription of doctor, and that will take out the worms from your intestine. Fine. Okay. So that's about the scariasis. Let's solve the previous year question. Infection of ascaris usually occurs by mosquito bite, drinking water containing eggs of ascaris. Okay, this is ascaris. Okay, that's a typo error. Eating imperfectly cooked pork and CC fly. So we have not talked about CC fly anywhere. Mosquito bite, we have done that in dengue, right? But drinking water containing eggs of ascaris will only cause scariasis. Okay, so the answer is 2. The measly pork will cause you teniasis, though both live in small intestine. So next is your another helminthic disease, filariasis or elephantiasis. So this disease occurs due to a helminthic or worm, Wuchereria bancrofti, and this is also known as filarial worm. Filarial or filaria, both are same. Okay, so it is caused due to filarial worm. So here again, because it's human health and disease, who is the organism who is getting the disease? Man. So here the host is man. Fine, but there is a vector. The vector is female Culex mosquito. Okay, so the mosquito that was spreading dengue was Aedes, but the one that is spreading elephantiasis or filariasis is Culex, right? Now why it is known as filariasis? Because the worm that is causing it is filarial worm. Why it is known as elephantiasis? There is another reason, I will let you know soon. Now how does it enters inside the body? So what happened? Culex will bite us, right? Why Culex is biting us? Because she is female and female drinks blood, right? Not that way. Because female needs iron and protein iron and protein to lay eggs. So that's why the female is biting you. Female is not biting you to with a goal that they will give you the disease. No, they are just doing their work. They want to drink blood. But the female accidentally, because the female is living in the contaminated water, the female is having some hair larva, or maybe the female is also biting another human, and that human is having the disease elephantiasis. For example, ram has elephantiasis, and fresh Culex, which has no larva in it, bites ram. So from the blood of ram comes the larva of the filarial worm. Now the same Culex has now the filarial larva will now bites another healthy human. So from the larva from ram has shifted to sham, right? Just like that. So what happened? For example, Culex is biting sham now. Now Culex has taken larva from ram. So it will inject larva of filarial worm in blood. Okay. So from this blood, the larva will move into the entire circulation and also enter the lymph vessel, right. So larva will grow into adult, and with the help of circulation, the adult will live in lymphatic vessel. So lymphatic vessels are very narrow vessel as comparison to the blood vessel, like arteries, they are big vessel. Okay. So since the larva is present in the lymphatic vessel, it will cause obstruction. It will cause obstruction in the vessel. For example, this is a lymphatic vessel, and now the filarial worm is living here like this. So as a result, it is causing the obstruction. Because it is causing the obstruction, all the fluid, all the water from the lymphatic vessel will enter into the tissues. The water will enter into the tissues. What is this area? These are tissues. Whenever your tissues receive water, they get swollen up, and that condition is known as edema. Edema is swelling. Okay, why this is swelling? Because water enter into the tissue. Why water enters? Because this worm is obstructing the lymphatic vessel. So there is no space for water, water has entered into tissues. So that's why you will see the swelling in the lower limb especially. So in case of man, it also infects scrotum, making the person sterile for life. Yes, the man, scrotum will be infected, testes will be infected, the man will not be able to have a baby, right? So the man can become sterile, but you will see it will always infect lower limbs, because the leg of the person is so swollen, it looks like a leg of an elephant. So that's why it's known as elephantiasis. All right, that's why it is known as elephantiasis. That's it, right? So that's about the helminthic diseases. Let's move further and talk about some protozoan diseases. We'll not start with the malaria first, we'll talk about the amoebiasis first. Amoebiasis, also known as amoebic dysentery. Let's talk about this first. Okay, let me drink some water. So, you can see what's this beautiful cheesecake or sponge cake, whatsoever it is, but it has a lot of flies. It has a lot of flies. So this disease is not caused by helminthic or worm. It is not caused by bacteria or viral or fungus. It is caused by a protozoan, and the name of the protozoan is Entamoeba histolytica. It is caused by the disease Entamoeba histolytica. So now how does this protozoan enter into your body? You know, most of the causative agent or the mode of spread of the disease will be, which is infecting your gut, will be contaminated food and water. Whatever you are feeding, for example, if I say there is a disease that is infecting your small intestine, that means somehow you are getting the causative organism through contaminated food and water, right? So this enter or mode of spread will be contaminated food and water. Contaminated food and water, right? Now, if the food is contaminated, right, how does it get contaminated? How does it get amoeba? The reason is these things that you see, flies. So these flies are carriers. Now ma'am, you have also used the word vector. What's the difference between vector and carrier? Carrier is something in which body, or carrier is an organism, the life cycle of the causative agent will not run in its body. For example, if I talk about malaria, is caused by protozoan. It also has a vector, a mosquito, right? So that protozoan will grow inside the body of the mosquito, or basically if we say the larva, if it is carrying, the larva will be inside the body of the vector or body of the mosquito. But in this case, this organism, the Entamoeba histolytica, will not grow inside the body of a fly. It will only get stick to its legs. What happened? Imagine you are at a, you're eating at roadside and the person is cooking food near a water body which is highly contaminated water body, in fact having a black water, right? Not the black water that celebrities drink, the contaminated water. So that water is containing these Entamoeba histolytica. Now the fly will go to that water, drink water. While drinking water, the Entamoeba histolytica will bind to the legs or feet of the fly. Fly doesn't know what's going on, just the amoeba gets stick to their feet. Now flies fly and go to the food where a person is making chaat papdi or puchka or golgappe whatsoever, or momos, right? And now the amoeba will bind to the momos, and now you will eat momos and you will get the protozoan inside your body, and this is how contaminated food and water is making you sick. Why? Because flies are carriers here. They will go to place, they will pick up the organism, causative organism on their legs, and they will throw it in on the food. Alright, where does this organism live? So it basically is present in large intestine. Now what are the symptoms? The symptoms include constipation, abdominal pain, cramp, stool with excessive mucus and blood. Whenever you have excessive stool with blood, you call that as dysentery. This is how it is different from diarrhea. In diarrhea, you have excessive stool, watery fluid, right? You have stools or feces which are very liquefied. But in case of dysentery, you have getting excessive stool, but that will also contain blood. Now why it contains blood? Because this Entamoeba histolytica will destroy the mucous membrane of your large intestine, and then it will drink all your blood. This is how this is also problematic disease. Okay, so that's about the protozoan disease. But one protozoan disease that we need to do it very carefully is your malaria. So let's get started. So malaria. So the word malaria comes from mal. Mal means bad and area means air. So earlier people used to think that this particular disease, it occurs due to bad air. There is something in the air, that's why the people got the disease. But later on we got to know there is a causative agent. There is a causative agent. That means there is someone who is causing you disease, and that's a protozoan. That's a protozoan, and the name of the protozoan is Plasmodium. So Plasmodium is of various types like Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, this was the first one to be discovered, Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium falciparum. Out of all of this, Plasmodium falciparum is the most dangerous one. This is a fatal one, and this causes malignant malaria. There are two types of malaria. One is malignant malaria, another is the benign malaria. Whenever we use the benign means something that is present at a particular organ. Like we say tumor, uncontrolled division of cell. If tumor is at particular area only, that's benign, that is less dangerous. But when that tumor spreads to the other body organs also, that is malignant, and that is the cancer. So malignant is the word that is used basically for dangerous diseases, right? So this one, basically the falciparum, it infects or destroys RBC, red blood cells, at a faster rate. That's why it is fatal. Fatal means that can take your life. Fine. Now, how does it or where does it and to whom does it cause? First of all, the primary host here is the man, and the vector is female Anopheles mosquito. So the mosquito is the one that is causing you disease. That's why in rainy season there is advisory by the municipal corporation, do not let the water get stagnant, even in the water coolers or air coolers or anywhere. Like, the water should not be open. That should not be open to the breeding of the mosquitoes. Fine. Now how does it enters? What happened? We'll start from this. This is the stage 1. This is the hand of a very healthy man, right? This healthy man is bitten by an Anopheles, female Anopheles, and this female Anopheles, when it bites, it has a sporozoite of a protozoan. It's like a spore of a protozoan, just like bacteria form spores, right? So this Anopheles carries, Anopheles have sporozoite in salivary gland. So when this Anopheles will bite you from salivary gland, it will enter to the mouth, the sporozoites will enter the mouth, and from mouth it will enter into your blood. So this is how we say the sporozoite is the infective stage for human. This is the infective stage for human. So what enters into our body? Basically a sporozoite enter inside our blood by the bite of an infected female Anopheles. Now the female Anopheles has bitten you. Now what will happen next? From the blood, via blood, this sporozoite goes to the liver. Imagine this is a sporozoite. Sporozoite, when it will enter the liver, inside the liver cells known as hepatocyte. What are the liver cells? Hepatocyte. Imagine these are the cells of liver, hepatocyte. Inside the hepatocyte, these sporozoite will undergo reproduction. And what kind of reproduction? Asexual reproduction. And the name of the asexual reproduction is schizogony. So sporozoite inside the liver cell will undergo asexual reproduction, reproduce very fast to increase their number, and sporozoite will be converted into these small merozoites. You got it? Yes. So the parasite, what form of parasite is entering the body? Sporozoite. Sporozoite enter into the liver. In the liver, the sporozoite will undergo asexual reproduction and produces this small merozoite. Now merozoite will be of two sizes, one macro and other micro. Micro means small, macro means large. The macro one will infect new liver cell. As a result, you can see here, first organ that is infecting in case of, or which is getting destroyed in case of malaria is liver, right? Now the bigger size merozoite will reinfect the new cells, liver cell, whereas the smaller one will enter RBC. In the RBC, they will again show schizogony. And what is schizogony? Asexual reproduction. And they will keep on reproducing. Now once they have reproduced a lot, they have to move out. When they move out, they will burst the RBC, they will break the RBC. And when RBC got broken down, its hemoglobin will also get broken down. You know what is present in the RBC? Hemoglobin. So when these merozoites which are replicating, which are multiplying basically in the RBC, they will burst the RBC and come out. So during bursting of the RBC, hemoglobin will also get destroyed. And when hemoglobin got destroyed, it forms granules known as hemozoin granule. So whenever this parasite will destroy RBC, it starts to, start to move out. Hemozoin granules will also be released, which have been formed by the destruction of hemoglobin. And whenever the hemozoin granules are released, whenever the RBCs are burst, hemozoin granules will be released and person will get fever, right? So in this stage, up to this stage, person has no clue what's going on. In this stage, the person will actually have fever. Why do a person have fever? Let me write this down for you. When merozoite multiplies and develops in RBC, they burst the RBC to move out. Now what will happen? Hemoglobin will be destroyed and form hemozoin granule. Hemozoin granule. Now these will be released and the person will get fever. The person will get fever. So if you read this line carefully, open the NCERT book if this is not clear. Parasite reproduce asexually in RBC, bursting the red blood cell and causing cycle of fever and other symptom. Release parasite infect new RBCs, right? So whatever parasite have been released, it will again undergo the cycle. You can see here is also a cycle, here is also a cycle of reinfection. Now out of these, some merozoite, they will become gametocyte. These gametocytes are progametocyte. That means they are not developed. Why they are not developed? Why they are primitive? Why they are not developing? The reason is because here you got fever. When you got fever, the body temperature is higher. And at high temperature, these gametes, the progametocytes, the male and the female progametocyte, they cannot grow. So for them to grow, they need high humidity and low temperature condition. So now these gametocytes which are present inside your blood or the infected person's blood will wait for the next mosquito to bite them and take them away, right? So entire asexual phase of the plasmodium is running inside the human. This is a very common question that can be asked. Which phase, the sexual or the asexual, runs in the human body? Asexual, because gametes, they cannot develop further. So it's a kind of mechanism also. If the gamete would have been developed and if a person does not have fever, this is the body's mechanism, immune system's defensive mechanism that increase the temperature so that gametes will not reproduce. If they would have reproduced, the entire cycle would have run in us and we will not be able to escape it, right? So now the next mosquito bites. Now this mosquito will take up the gametes in the mouth. Now what will happen next? Inside, like this is the mosquito, right? Mosquito will drink blood. Next mosquito, mosquito 2, or I will write the mosquito bites human. Which human? Infected human. Now what will happen? Gametes enters mosquito gut. Because it will drink blood, along with the blood the gametes will enter inside the gut. Now what will happen? Fertilization. So if someone asks you, where does the fertilization takes place? Fertilization of the gametes takes place in the gut of the mosquito, right? So imagine this is the gut of the mosquito. In the gut of the mosquito, here we have the male gamete, the female gamete and the male gamete. Both undergo fertilization and what they will form? They will form zygote. This is zygote. Now this zygote will become motile. This will become motile and you call it as ookinete. Ookinete is nothing, kinete, kinetic energy. Anything that moves is kinete, kinetic energy, right? So this is motile zygote. Why there is a need of the zygote to get motile? Because if it will be motile, it can move, and after it will move, it will form cyst in the wall. It will form cyst or encystment. It will undergo encystment. And when any organism forms cyst, it will then go for sporulation and it will form sporozoid. As you all know, mosquito is the arthropod and arthropod do not have blood vessel. They have an open space known as hemocoel where their body fluid hemolymph is present, right? So these sporozoids, they are present in which area? Hemocoel. Now hemocoel, from hemocoel, these sporozoid will enter into salivary gland, right? And from salivary gland bite to another human, and then the sporozoid will enter into human. Let me show you with the diagram. Now what happened? The mosquito bite taken the gametes, gamete fertilization take place in the gut. After that the sporulation will take place, right, or encystment will occur which will form sporozoid, and sporozoid they are present in the salivary gland. You can see here it is in the salivary gland. From the salivary gland it has been released into the mouth, and from mouth it will enter into the another human being, and the cycle will go on like that. The human being can be same, it can be different also. Okay. So now here the question that can be asked, what is the infective stage for human being? Sporozoid, right? Second, where does sexual phase of Plasmodium occurs? In the mosquito. Asexual phase in the human being. Where does the fertilization takes place? Inside the gut. Gut of what? Gut of what? Mosquito. Alright. Okay. So, when does a human got fever? Whenever hemozoin granules are released. Alright. Let's solve some questions now. Chill and fever in case of malaria is due to? Simple. Release of hemozoin granule. Answer is 1. Not due to gametocyte infection. We are not infected by gametocyte, right? We got infected by sporocyte. We form or the sporocyte form merozoite, merozoite form gametes. No, not due to sporozoite infection. At that time, you don't know what's happening. Not because of destruction of WBC, RBCs got disrupted, right? Next. Internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia and blockage of the intestinal passage are the symptoms of. You never got blockage of intestine in common cold. You get rhinitis in common cold. In pneumonia also you don't get intestinal blockage. You get the water filled in the alveoli. In ringworm your skin is infected, but in Ascariasis all these things occur. So answer is 3. Right? Next, PYQs. Match the following. Choose the correct answer from the option given below. Okay, it's just match the following. First, filariasis. Filariasis occur due to Wuchereria bancrofti. So for A we have 3. B, amoebiasis is due to Anta-amoeba histolytica. B we have 4. C, pneumonia. C, pneumonia occurs due to Haemophilus influenza 1 and ringworm is fungal disease due to trichophyton. A3, B4, C1, D2, answer 1. It's just the disease and causative agent. That's it. Next. Match the following again. So, you know, there is one thing that you will see in exam. Mostly you will get the question in the form of match the following. If the question from this chapter is from diseases. Typhoid is due to Salmonella. So, for A we have 3. Pneumonia is due to Haemophilus. Filariasis due to Wuchereria. Malaria due to Plasmodium. A3, 2, okay, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1 and 4, 2. Very true. Answer is 1. Next. Infectious stage of Plasmodium that enters the human body. Simple, sporozoid. Answer 1. What's the infective stage for mosquito? Gametocytes. Okay. Next. Okay, now you must be confused, ma'am. What is this trophozoite? This is a stage of merozoite in RBC. Right? You don't have to go in that detail, but merozoite undergoes a lot of types of stages like trophozoite, signet ring stage. So that is one of them. Match the following again. Tuberculosis. Alright, so we will not do this question because this one is on the vaccine. Let's leave this. The active form of Entamoeba histolytica feeds upon. Entamoeba histolytica destroys your mucus and mucosa and it will also drink your blood. So it will destroy your RBC, mucosa and submucosa. So answer is 3. Of colon. Colon is a part of large intestine. That's why you got dysentery, because it is destroying all the layers. Submucosa contain blood vessels, guys. Okay. Next. Match the following again. Plasmodium causes malaria. Wuchereria causes elephantiasis, Entamoeba, amoebiasis, microsporum, ringworm. See how many questions from the same diseases. So A we have 4. B we have 3, C we have 2, D we have 1, answer is A or 1. Next, which of the following set of diseases is caused by bacteria? Tetanus, mumps, herpes, influenza, cholera, tetanus, typhoid, smallpox. Smallpox is viral. Herpes simplex virus. Tetanus, mumps is viral, paramyxovirus. Whereas cholera is caused by Vibrio cholerae and tetanus is caused by Clostridium tetani. So answer to this question is 3. Next, in which disease does mosquito transmitted pathogen cause chronic inflammation of lymphatic vessel? Simple, only one disease we have done where lymphatic vessels are basically involved, that is elephantiasis 1. In Ascariasis, small intestine obstruction, anemia, blockage. Ringworm, skin, hair or your nails are infected. In Amoebiasis, mucosa, submucosa of large intestine is infected. Next. That's it. So that's it about the diseases. The major diseases, cancer and AIDS, will be talking about that in different lectures. But these diseases are finished. Please read the NCERT, solve the question. PYQs we have already done, so don't worry about them. Okay. So I'll meet you in the next class. Till then, bye bye. Take care.